Not really.
No?
Oh, no?
No. Library if we can.
A library, right? But the senior citizens can go to the senior center, can't they?
Yeah, they could.
Okay,
Anytime
so
you're
I guess I can start with number 3, right? Would everybody rise for the pledge of allegiance? Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, a couple of announcements. We have the Juneteenth celebration on June 22nd, 2024 from 1 to 5 p.m. at Villa Lawaro, 67 North Broadway, Irvington, New York. And I should make note that parking has been provided elsewhere. And where are those various locations?
St. Barnabas Church, the Irvington Presbyterian Church, and Main Street School parking lot.
And we encourage you to use those because it will, seems like it's an oversubscribed event.
Correct. Very
Okay.
popular.
Please speak up and use the microphone.
Yes, sorry about that.
At least I didn't point it towards you. So.
Thank you, how's that? I'll move forward too. And there will be fireworks Thursday, July 4th at 2024 at Madison Park, rain day July 5th. And I haven't opened the full agenda, but I'm assuming we do not have correspondence, correct?
No.
Okay. And now it is public comment. Does anybody have something they would like to say? Okay. Then we're going to go to the consent agenda. And I have a modification to one and a question about another one, and then I'll put it to a motion. Am I correct that with regard to E, that Con Ed already paid us? This is the budget transfers, or does that happen subsequently?
Let me see which one I put in. These haven't been paid yet.
Okay.
They've been billed out, but to recognize the revenue in this year that the expenses were also incurred in, this is the entry that we do, and then, so these are bills that are owed.
Got it, okay. And let's see, the modification is to add 3 people to item B, which is the reappointment of personnel and recreation in the Parks Department. That's Cole Caparel, assistant at $14.50 an hour, Anthony Magras, assistant at $14.50 an hour, Daniel Strauss, assistant at $15 an hour. And the consent agenda contains the minutes from the June 3rd and June 13th, 2024 meeting, reappointment of personnel in Rec and Parks, salary modification of clerk treasurer's office, appointment of day camp staff for Rec and Parks, approval of the 2023-24 budget transfers and modifications, and appointment of personnel in Rec and Parks Department, Teamscape. So I'm making a motion to adopt the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Larry, you want to give us thumbs? Good, that'll do it. Perfect, thank you. Okay. Let me just get to this point. This is, next up is the appointment of a student intern.
Is that for the whole village, Larry? Like an intern for the village, or is there a
Yeah, that was
specific
my
department?
question, good.
This is the, what I would call the climate
That's what okay.
intern, working directly with Charlotte,
And she got a grant for that. is
which
that
we got a
correct?
grant for. I think it should pay for 90% of the salary, something to that effect.
Sounds great, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm making the following motion. Resolve to make the following appointment. Alexia Lopez, a student intern, $17 an hour, effective June 3rd, 2024. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Got it?
Removal of Irvington Fire Company members, and my motion is resolved. And I'm assuming they were inactive, or they retired, or, okay. or
It could be any, it could be
Okay.
any reason like that, yep.
Okay. So my motion
Do
is.
they know, I think is the question.
They know.
Yes, okay.
Yes, this is, you're not,
Good point.
it's not a revelation,
Okay.
correct.
Resolved to remove the following as active members of the Irvington Fire Company: Maximo Trauma, Paul Cancro and Eric Lavers. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approval of actually 2 film permits. Fun. First one is for High Roller Productions LLC, and the motion is resolved to approve a filming permit for High Roller Productions LLC to film at 45 West Clinton in Irvington, New York, that includes prep days on June 24, 25, 26, 27, and 28. Filming on July 1st from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. and July 2nd from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. Rain cover dates are to be determined, and wrap up cleanup days on July 3rd and 5th. The permit fee is $9,000. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next up is approval of a filming permit for the Bosco Media Company LLC, DBA Curfew. Resolved to approve a filming permit for the Bosco Media, for Bosco Media LLC, DBA Curfew, to film at 296 Riverview Road in Irvington, New York, on June 27 from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. The permit is $1,000, and just as an aside, I think all the filming is indoors from the application that I got.
Yes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And are these 3 policy approvals, agency come from Charlotte towards getting the points towards the rating?
Yes.
Okay. First one is the policy for shade structures for village-owned properties. I'm going to read the resolution, the motion that I'm making, but not the entire policy. Whereas shade structures in public spaces provide relief for residents and pets during times of heat and protect the public from high heat conditions and ultraviolet radiation, and provide a cost-effective method to ensure health and safety. And whereas aesthetically pleasing shade structures provide opportunities for social networking and public gatherings, and are particularly important for individuals that do not have access to air conditioning. And whereas conserving existing forest cover and planting trees and green spaces can moderate temperatures and reduce the heat island effect. And whereas the Village of Irvington currently controls, operates, or manages developed parkland and recreational facilities where shade structures can and do already provide a public benefit. And whereas shade structures such as trees, gazebos, and covered outdoor facilities provide such protection, and the adoption of a shade structure policy better positions the village to build and maintain shade structures to obtain grants to provide such structures. Now therefore be it resolved to adopt the policy for shade structures on village-owned properties dated June 6th, 2024, which is included in the agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Policy for green power purchasing. My motion is, whereas the Village of Irvington has a legitimate governmental interest in protecting human health within the village and beyond, including in the reduction of carbon emissions from government operations, and whereas the village is committed to complying with the New York Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act goals of reducing greenhouse gas emissions by 40% below 1990 levels by 2030 and 85% by 2050, and whereas the village's government operations emit greenhouse gases from the burning of heating oil and natural gas in village buildings, and also from the use of gasoline and diesel oil in the village's fleet of 67 vehicles. And whereas the village is committed to reducing carbon emissions from government operations in the near future by electrifying 50% of its buildings and vehicle fleet by 2030. And whereas the village is committed to further reducing carbon emissions from government operations over the next 25 years by electrifying 100% of its buildings and vehicle fleet by 2050. And whereas the village purchases its electricity for government operations from the New York Power Authority, which states that between 70 and 80% of the power it generates is renewable hydroelectric power. Now therefore be it resolved to adopt a green power procurement policy for the village-owned properties and implementation plan dated June 13th, 2024, and also included in the agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next one is the adoption of the Government Operations Climate Action Plan, which I actually also highlighted today in the Westchester County press briefing.
Thought that sounded familiar.
Yes.
That was good.
And which is why I'm glad we're adopting it now, because that's what I said we would be doing tonight. Resolved to adopt the Local Government Operations Climate Action Plan dated June 12th, 2024, which is available at the download indicated in the agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I know that was a big report and you just went over it very quickly,
Yeah.
but we had a presentation
Yeah,
on
that
this
was-
in the past,
Absolutely.
yeah, exactly.
And actually, to me, the two most important parts were the 50% electrification of buildings and fleet and employee commute within the next, by 2030. And frankly, the last page, which says we will create monitoring reports to make sure that the village is actually doing what they're supposed to do, because it's not so simple to take from a report of that volume and try to make sure that we tick and tie everything. So that'll be helpful. Okay, now a few contract approvals. Approval of intermunicipal agreement for shared service food scraps collection study. My motion is resolved to authorize the village administrator to execute an intermunicipal agreement for a shared service New York State Greenway grant for a study to establish the working plan for curbside collection of food scraps. This is the one that we're working with multiple villages and, okay.
Yep, we're all, the other 6 villages, along with Irvington, are executing this intermunicipal agreement. And all it does is define the the financial relationships between each of us. Irvington's going to be collecting the money from the grant and paying the bills to the consultant and billing out the balance to each of the other villages
Okay,
equally.
and do I have a second for that? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, approval of intermunicipal agreement for the implementation of the Mid-Hudson Municipal Building Electrification Coalition. And this is from memory, Larry, I think we talked about this, you needed the MOU, a memorandum of agreement, so that you could file for a grant, am I remembering that correctly?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so the consortium of 8 or 10 communities will be submitting to the federal government a grant application to assist each of the communities with the various projects that they may have. In our case, the project is to convert this building from oil heat and convert that to electric heat pump based in the portion that's not the theater. The theater is already underway, so it's the rest of the building. That's what we estimate to be about $1 million project, and that's the grant submission that we're making here. This intermunicipal agreement is, the way they characterize it is, it's a preliminary agreement that will be replaced with a more permanent one if and when we receive this grant. So more to come on that. But the grant is due July 1st, so this needs to be in place before then.
I like that we were the third biggest ass.
Yeah.
Our little village is
It's
like
true ambition.
$1 million.
Yeah.
It's not an accident. I mean, we knew what we wanted.
Yeah.
So,
All right, so my motion is resolved to approve the intermunicipal agreement for the implementation of the Mid-Hudson Municipal Building Electrification Coalition and to authorize the village administrator to execute said agreement. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next is approval of intermunicipal agreement with Westchester County for Employee Assistance Program Services.
Right.
Larry, am I? If you need.
no, I was just confirming something. That's
Am
all.
I correct that this is just sort of a convenient way to get these services Westchester County can provide it for us? These employee assistance programs?
Yes, yeah, this was the program that was recommended and discussed during the budget process that you did approve and make part of the budget.
Got it.
It's not just calling up and getting services and paying the bill, apparently there has to be an IMA the way the county operates.
Got it.
Go ahead, Marianne, I know
May,
she's,
can you say,
Yeah.
I'd ask you to make it, execute the agreement upon my approval. There's a provision in there that I don't
Okay.
think should be in there or needs to be modified. And Katie, we've been back and forth a little
We
on it,
did, we
but
told them the change we want, and then we're waiting to hear back, so.
yeah, so one way or the other, it'll get fixed and then I'll
Gotcha.
give Larry the okay.
Fine. So then the motion is resolved to approve the intermunicipal agreement with Westchester County for Employee Assistance Program Services for the period June 1, 2024 through December 31, 2024, to authorize the village administrator to execute said agreement upon the approval of the village attorney.
so, yeah, we will
Or
put,
subject to the
subject to
approval.
final approval of the village
The village
attorney, we'll
attorney.
put in.
Do I have a second on that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. You've seen Larry's votes, right? He's been raising his hand.
Yes, yep.
Otherwise, he'll have to start texting us.
Just a wire on
This is some agreement here. Next up is award of contract 2024-07, parts 1 and 2 for cleaning services in Village Hall, Theater and Library. I take it the other contractor dropped out.
Correct.
And do they, until we have a signed contract with somebody who bids on something, they have no obligation, is that correct? And
I
I'm
think
not suggesting you should have forced them to do it, I just want to
Right.
understand the process.
Yeah, I think technically, we could have held them to their bid.
Yeah,
The process of doing that would probably be contentious and.
and more expensive
Be in
than,
that situation, you
Right.
wouldn't wanna be in that situation.
you know, I understand, I get it,
When
I
you
get
bid, they have to.
Right.
right,
Right, so, I think the pricing differential was not much.
Yeah.
And also the company that's being awarded the contract is the one that's been here all along, so I think.
Got it.
We're all satisfied that the product will be what
Because
we
I had asked
expect.
about that when we voted on the bids, remember?
Yeah. Yeah,
got it, okay. I'm offering the following motion, whereas the Board of Trustees previously awarded the bid to NSI Clean Worldwide, Inc. in Resolution 2024-061, whereas NSI Clean Worldwide, Inc. has withdrawn their bid, now therefore be it resolved to award contract 2024-07, parts 1 and 2 to the lowest bidder Fullerton Service Industries for an annual contract amount of $60,196, and to authorize the village administrator to execute said contract. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. This is going to.
Yeah. All right, I see AKRF, all right. Approval of contract for planning services with AKRF for the planning board. Just out of curiosity, is this one of those that the applicant would actually reimburse if a project goes forward?
yes.
And if it doesn't go forward, I assume they don't?
No,
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 They do
for
it-
everything, not if the project, for all the review of the project, while the
Got it, so
project
they're
is
really
going
there.
forward.
Theoretically, there should be no work unless the project has moved forward.
No,
I don't know what you mean, no. So there's a long review process, the applicant has to put money in escrow, and they have
Oh.
already put money in escrow for the moment to pay for my services, and then they have to stay ahead in the escrow, then they'll pay for
Got it.
AKRF services.
That was it was a practical
Yeah,
question.
let me just say
Yeah.
on this one, well, Larry does have subject to the village attorney, but I
Sure.
spoke with him today. It's written pretty broadly as, for general planning services, for certain applications. Whereas it's just for this one application for 76 North Broadway.
Mhm.
So I asked her to fix that today. There's one provision in there I don't understand, so I have a call into somebody who's gotta get back to me. And then also I did ask them to specify that Marissa would be the traffic person on this, which this doesn't, because I know we have a lot of confidence in her.
right.
So I'll work those things out.
Okay. All right, so I'm offering the following resolution. Resolved to approve a contract for planning services with AKRF for the planning board and to authorize the village administrator to execute the contract subject to the final approval of the village attorney. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Okay. We are now on to update on deer management program for the Irvington Woods. So what I had asked people to do, and I actually have Lonky's thoughts so that he doesn't have to tax his voice, was look at the proposals we received from Kelly Deer Management and from Forest Management Solutions LLC, and give me some indication as to which of the various levels, at least for those who are in favor of this, were the various levels you would like us to authorize the village administrator to try to negotiate an agreement. I believe for the forest management side of it, it's a one-year sort of a one-year assistance program, basic support, where they would help probably help CJ and the Woods Committee to be prepared to monitor changes in the woods based on what's happening with the deer population. And frankly, to confirm that what we're doing has an impact over time. And then so I guess I'm expressing my own opinion on this, but I would select the basic program, and that is also what was recommended by the Woods Committee on the forestry management piece of it. And then on the Kelly deer management program, again, this is personal opinion, but I would pick the second option just because, and Larry Lonky reminded me of this when we met with Peter Kelly, who is the provider of this agreement, or at least this proposal. He pointed out that the ability to hunt is dependent on wind and weather and a host of other factors. And if you go with just the basic, which is sort of once a week, you may get nothing happening once a week because of the conditions. So you're better off with at least a mid-range where you're trying to get 1 to 2 sessions a week. And as far as Larry Lonky goes, he pointed out that, and I should have said this, that the contract for the forest management with Ms. Begley Miller is recommended only for 1 year. And as far as Mr. Kelly's proposal, he'd be happy to be a third vote for the more aggressive plan. And Larry notes that it might save us some short-term money if he achieves his goals faster. And he would also find acceptable the moderate plan. And I think he sort of made the same point I did about it, and I was to some extent borrowing from him, that if there's only 1 a week, there would be weeks going by without any hunting at all. And in this case, this would also be for 1 year, but with an option to renew. And if that is where other people come out, I can express this as a resolution to that, when we're authorizing Larry. Do you want to add your thoughts as to which plan?
I guess for the forest management solution, I do think that making sure we understand the impact is one of the most important pieces. And so, but if the Woods Committee is recommending only basic support, then, I'm okay with that.
And we can always change our mind down the line if we decide.
Right, if we need, one thing that was interesting was the later ones have some kind of on-call support, but maybe that's something we can work on later if needed, if there's questions or we need help later. But for the hunting, I don't think we need to do aggressive. That seems like not the right place to start out maybe. I think with the moderate program, I think collaborating with neighboring places and then, having the report and meeting appearance and help is important. So that's the part I would like. I don't know if there's something in between basic and moderate, basic plus. Yeah. But I'm okay with the
and we can have that conversation when we're negotiating this thing. If there's pieces that we want, my take on the collaborating with neighbors is it's not that you're hunting outside of the woods.
Right,
it's that you might have cameras, you might be sort of scouting out where the deer pass. I think you were saying that, but that was also in my thoughts when I was reading that provision. I know, Mish, you want to pass or
Well,
say something?
I'm not gonna pass. For the reasons I stated at the work session, I don't support this contract at all, so I would vote for non-pass.
Okay, that's fair.
I think if we embark on this, it's very important to be able to understand whether it's effective or not. So I think, we definitely, it seems like we would need some support. I don't know that we would know how to just do this in-house. I think you said that the Woods Committee recommended the basic?
Yeah,
Okay, and I'm assuming the volunteers would be able to, they are gonna train 2 volunteers, are the volunteers going to then train other people? Do you know? Yeah,
Well, there would always be there would be at least 2 people, yes, managing and able to train anybody else who gets involved.
okay, so because that seemed to me like, yeah, you would need maybe more people involved in understanding the project, but I guess if they're training people and they're training other people, then it's
It's-
probably okay.
it's got to be self-sustaining, and when I do the resolution, I will add that we want certain people to be here when we vote on the contract, and that's going to include representatives of the Woods Committee, so that we can discuss exactly what, and Peter Kelly, so that we can discuss exactly what's going to happen when, or at least project what we expect to happen.
And I think I just want to sort of reiterate, this is not easy. It's certainly not an easy choice for me, not a choice I would have thought I would be making. So, I don't think that like the basic once a week, I don't know that that'll be sufficient to get us really to what we're trying to do, which is to manage the issue. So I would be in favor of the moderate program. I don't think starting aggressively is the right answer.
Okay. All right, then I'm gonna try to do a resolution. Resolve that the village administrator, in consultation with the village attorney, be authorized to negotiate, 1, a 1-year contract with Kelly Deer Management on the terms set forth in the moderate program description in the Irvington Wood proposal from Kelly Deer Management contained in item 13 of the meeting agenda, which contract shall contain an option for the village to renew annually. And 2, a 1-year contract with Forest Management Solutions LLC on the terms set forth in option 1 basic support in the work proposal from Forest Management Solutions LLC contained in item 13 of the meeting agenda. And further be it resolved that both contracts be submitted to the village board for approval at a subsequent meeting, and that Kelly Deer Management, Forest Management Solutions LLC, and representatives of the Woods Committee be invited to participate in that meeting. Do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Nay.
Okay. All right. So we'll get that contract and we'll see, obviously there's gonna be a second vote on that to finalize it. And I'm sure the hard part follows. Okay, item 14 is continuation of the community choice aggregation program. And I think you made the point that somewhere have to work into that it'll be subject to attorney review as well.
It's in there already.
Yeah, and, thank you.
It's in the resolution.
It's in the resolution, okay. And do I remember correctly that in our conversations with them, they thought they would know whether they could get to 100% renewables by around July in terms of pricing?
Yeah, that was the conversation.
Okay.
I wasn't there, but I wanted to ask you something
Yeah.
about this, because I watched the video of the
Yeah.
meeting, because
At least somebody was watching.
I'll tell you
That's
from
great.
the past, the contracts are so,
Believe me, I read one of them, when then Larry said, don't do it, don't read the next one.
don't, they're just, they're so hard to work with. So I needed a context, so I was listening to the meeting, but I only got about halfway through. I'll finish it, halfway through the
Yeah.
discussion, I'll finish it, but I had kind of a basic question. If you renew this, does it become the provider for everybody in the village
Default.
unless they opt out?
That's right, default unless they opt
So they
out.
have to opt out again?
No.
Now,
No,
that's
if
the
you've
question. If you've already opted out, are you opted out?
We can ask. I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, I
exact
think
question.
that's a really important
Yeah.
point.
Okay.
Well, we talked about, we're gonna do a PR outreach to people to let them know.
Yeah, I know,
But
it's
somebody would be surprised if they were suddenly put back into it because we
Right, and I,
renewed a contract.
maybe further on in the discussion it came up, but I thought that was a pretty basic thing,
I
because
don't think that came up, yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
Because over the last year, I know tons of, including myself, have opted out because the price differential's
yeah.
been
But I thought the
huge.
whole idea is it's for new accounts, right? So it wouldn't apply to old accounts anyway, because you have a contract with whoever you have a contract with, whether it's them or somebody else.
Well, that,
I thought this is
It
just
is
if someone opens a new account in Irvington, then they are defaulted into this unless they say otherwise, right?
that was your understanding, I don't know, I haven't,
We'll find out.
yeah, it's
Okay,
worth
yeah.
asking.
It's a good question, because it never even occurred to me that it might be a possibility.
Yeah,
yeah, because it's like, are you starting over? I don't know.
yeah, I don't think you can,
And before I.
we'll find
before-
out with certainty, but I don't think you can force those who have selected another provider.
Well, I guess it
Yeah.
depends on the contract.
Yes, absolutely, yes.
Okay,
It's fair.
But would
but
the
to
village even have
simplify, I
power to
thought
do
maybe
that?
you came to that understanding already.
Like if you've got a privy of contract with whoever, we don't have the right to say, okay.
No, it doesn't replace any existing contracts. The question is whether an opt-out is considered having made a choice and having a contract with an alternate supplier.
Because you have an alternate supplier.
Well,
don't
but
you
it
have an
becomes,
agreement
it becomes the default Con Edison rate
It's, yeah,
when you opt out.
oh yeah, not if you went with another contractor, but it's, yes, it's if you're now on Con Ed
Right.
because you opted out and you fought.
No, we should
Fall back
definitely
to
look into it, I'm
Yeah,
not saying
all
now
right.
to, but it didn't even occur to me that, because we can't interfere, oh, you're saying, but you do have a de facto contract with Con Ed, because you're paying them every month, they're providing you with electrical service.
Yeah,
Well-
it's different than actually signing a contract with an alternate supplier
Yeah.
for a fixed period of time for a fixed rate.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just different. You're basically saying, I don't want the villages or Westchester Power's contract, I want the quote, the default supplier. Is that a contract for the default supplier? That's the question.
Yeah,
I understand your question, it's fine. I'll ask that.
I know.
No, we also-
I understand Mary Ann's question.
I feel like I'm back in law school, it's like a
Oh.
hypothetical.
Who has privity of contract?
Yeah.
You never saw anything like this in law school, that's why you do
Okay.
contracts.
Well, here is the resolution I'm offering. Whereas the Village of Irvington is a member of Sustainable Westchester and a participant in the Community Choice Aggregation Program, CCA or the program. And whereas the current electric service agreement, ESA, for the Sustainable Westchester CCA program terminates on October 31, 2024. And whereas the village desires to engage the services of Sustainable Westchester Inc. as the program manager for CCA and administration of the program. And whereas in connection with the CCA, Sustainable Westchester has provided the village with information regarding the plan to secure a new ESA, the 2024 ESA. And whereas a new memorandum of understanding, the 2024 MOU, with Sustainable Westchester will allow for the bid for electricity supply to be awarded to the lowest price responsible bidder. And whereas the purpose of the 2024 MOU is to establish the village's participation in the CCA to be managed by Sustainable Westchester Inc. under the 2024 ESA. B, to affirm that the village and Sustainable Westchester Inc. agree to adhere to the terms and conditions of the 2024 ESA in the event the 2024 ESA is executed. And C, to affirm that the village and Sustainable Westchester Inc. agree to execute the 2024 ESA subject to the conditions of review and approval outlined in the MOU. And whereas demand for the voluntary renewable energy certificates, RECs, which have historically been the medium for purchase of renewable energy in support of the program, has exceeded available supply. I think you gotta flip the words. Such that at this time suppliers can only offer a 50% renewable supply option as the default product for the 2024 ESA, along with an opt-up option that allows participating customers to elect to select a 100% renewable supply option. And whereas developments in the REC market may make it possible for suppliers to provide a 100% renewable supply option as the default product for the 2024 ESA before the commencement of service, which change in the default product would be effectuated through an amendment to the 2024 ESA. Now therefore be it resolved to authorize the village administrator to execute the 2024 MOU with Sustainable Westchester Inc. and the associated 2024 ESA, subject to receiving a compliant offer as defined in the MOU. as required to continue participating in the CCA program, all subject to the final review of the village attorney. And further resolved to authorize but not commit the village administrator to execute an amendment to the 2024 ESA to change the default product to a 100% renewable supply option, should such an option become available for the commencement of service under the 2024 ESA. The resolutions are as complicated as the contract. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, so you'll let us know what the answer to that
Yes.
fascinating question is, but it's important, actually. Yeah, it is a good question. Okay, reports of board, standing committees and officers, trustee liaison reports. You want to-
Yeah, I don't really have a normal report this week, but I did want to quickly thank Mitchell for organizing and running the Village Pride celebration again this year.
That was great.
The weekend before last, and thanks to everyone who came out and participated and everyone who spoke. I think it's, remains an important and meaningful village event, so thanks, Mitchell.
Thanks to everyone who helped. Larry was very helpful. Thanks that everyone who came, everyone on the board came. I was very touched by that. Thank you very much.
And Larry Lonke, I'm assuming you're taking a pass on this one. If you have something, you can email it to me and I'll read it for you, but that's your choice. Mitch?
I wanted to say from the library that I wanted to thank Keshet, one of the librarians came and set the table at the Pride event. And that was a nice addition and I appreciate them. That was them volunteer that. And Maureen found a Pride banner in the rec department and made it a point to track me down. I wanted to thank the Livewire donated the balloons. They reached out on their own to do that, so that was really cool too. Yeah, so I want to thank them. And everyone else, I don't know if I missed anyone else, but everyone else who helped out, everything I want to thank. And for the theater, I got a tour with John of the construction going on, and it is absolutely intense what is going on in there. But the assurance from Ed with a big smile on his face is that we're gonna be ready for September 1st. So I took that to be a good sign, even though the theater looks like it's there are scaffolds everywhere. But yeah, that's all.
Yes, you can get close to the roof if there's still.
I did, and we
Yeah,
did.
yeah. It's pretty amazing.
Okay, so from DPW, they've repaired the concrete sidewalk and installed a tree grate at 79 Main Street. The central garage lift was disassembled, a new concrete pad was poured, a new lift installed in 28 days. That seemed like difficult and like probably they did it in an amazing short time frame. They milled and paved Osceola Avenue, Roland Road, and Langdon Avenue. Con Edison milled and paved Clifton Place, Bertha Place, portions of Ardsley Ave West, and Phil Point Drive. They inspected all the stormwater outfalls, and an ADA sidewalk was installed on East Sunnyside Lane and Penny Bridge Manor. That's it for me.
Okay. Although I hope to put out something in writing on this subject, I'll at least mention that on June 5th and 6th, we had 14 students from Irvington Changing Forest Research Program led by CJ Riley and escorted by, I think, a number of parents along the way, participated in Harvard Forest's inaugural Student Symposium, Data Jam in Petersham, Massachusetts. And was really, it's an honor for them that they earned, I think it's in part by identifying the old growth forest. Is that a correct statement? Okay. I'm going to save the rest of the details so that there's something for people to read. And also just to mention again that since Larry cannot object to this, Larry Lonke, that Larry Lonke and CJ Riley received awards from, I think it's the Westchester Recreation
Park
Yeah.
Society, yeah.
Sort of honoring their effort in their respective areas. So congratulations again, Larry. And if you'd like to do your report, you're welcome to it.
Just a quick reminder that the DOT will be paving Broadway. We put out an announcement last week to talk about the timing. Of course, all of that timing is subject to change depending on weather, but I understand they did get started at they were scheduled to start last night at the southern border of Hastings and Yonkers, heading north up to here. What we expect, based upon the current schedule, is that they will hit probably the very southern section of Irvington sometime next week, which would be from pretty much Ardsley Avenue south, so it's just a little bit into Irvington. And then the following week, which would be July 4th, they'll have off. And then the following week after that is when they would do the majority of the rest of Irvington, with maybe the balance in the week after that. So we'll continue to update that as they go along. And also a reminder that all that work's being done at night, so it's being done 7 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Thank you. Clerk Treasurer's report.
We had our one-day preliminary audit this past Friday. Everything went well, and we're preparing for our week-long audit, which is the week of July 22nd. And we're also, we continue to collect taxes, which are due without penalty by July 1st.
Am I correct that for the week-long audit, you may need, at least me or some of the folks up here, sometimes they want to talk to board members?
I know they're going to send everyone out, I think it's electronic, questionnaire.
Okay.
Last year, they didn't call anyone in. I don't know, they always change their procedures, so.
Whatever,
we'll
I'll
see.
do it. I mean, it's
Okay,
yeah, I mean, it's a little like it with a public company, you have directors and officers questionnaires, so they want to know related parties, they want to know, whatever, which is fine. I'm happy
Maybe
to
it's
do.
you, 'cause
Yeah,
I don't think
it's
any of us
possible.
ever have.
Yeah, it's possible. Okay,
Lucky.
village
I
attorney's.
don't have a report.
Okay. Next up is public comment. Last chance, if anybody wants to say anything.
Someone's right there.
Oh, please.
I want
My name's Tony Altamira, and I reside at 1 Meadowbrook Road, which is, I guess you could say, in the MFO district. And I'm a member of that organization known as Irvington Neighbors Against Traffic, and I'm on their legal committee. And I wanted to just say a couple of things. One, we're very happy to see that the board has authorized the engagement of AKRF to assist the planning board in connection with its evaluation of what we expect to be a traffic impact study submitted by the Farmer, whatever the name is, consultants. And we, in connection with that, we also wanted to see if we could ask you to perhaps recommend to the planning board that they insist that the Varmer consultants on their nickel do a fulsome traffic impact study, which includes two important elements in our view. One is the standards that are set forth in the zoning code that this board enacted a few years ago, which address the issues of the impact of traffic. There's like 3 specific tests that are set forth in there before any type of special use permit can be granted. Those standards have to be satisfied. So at a minimum, those standards legally would have to be, as a matter of law, we believe, have to be addressed. And secondly, this board not long ago engaged AKRF to conduct an existing conditions study, which our group submitted some recommendations in terms of the scope. And they did a great job putting together that report. And in their report in December, they included some conclusions that we thought were very, very important. There were conclusions that basically said that if, in connection with any traffic impact study to be done by any developer in connection with any project in the district, there ought to be consideration given to a couple of very key items, including what's known as traffic growth counts, and also the impact of the so-called Route 9 diet, which is the potential reduction in the lanes of Broadway, as well as the impact of any other development that may be taking place in and around the district. We have development going on now with Toll Brothers. We have other development possibly that could take place in the district. So we thought it would be helpful if our Board of Trustees could recommend to the planning board that, yes, we are hiring this AKRF to assist you, with your evaluation process. But we would like to see that you mandate that the folks at Varmer do a study that's actually a meaningful, fulsome study, because anything short of that is just not going to allow for a proper assessment, in our view, of the traffic impact, and therefore is really not going to be useful in the analysis that's required.
Okay, well, I can certainly understand why you would recommend that, and I'd have to take my lead from the village attorney.
That's how they do it.
No, I don't, I got it.
We want to make sure that it's done that way. We submitted a
Well,
memorandum that
hold
described it.
on, let me just respond to what you said. It seems to me the proper approach to this would be for you guys to recommend it to the board yourselves, so that they are aware that the residents around it are concerned, and for us to tell the planning board sort of what to do in a particular way. In the event that this board gets involved in the process, and I hope that is never the case, that could prove to be a little problematic. And I don't know, I will now turn it back to you.
No, just to say that's what the planning board does in its reviews, if you,
Yeah.
you know, and it's really not up to the boards are kind of separate.
Yeah.
And it's, I think it would be probably detrimental
For example,
to
if you were
smooth
doing something on
processing
your
for
own
guys
home, you
to
would
rec-
not want us making helpful suggestions to the planning board.
But just to make you feel more comfortable, this is the sort of review they do. And this is the sort of review AKRF does. And if their traffic study is inadequate, AKRF, whom I've worked with on many, many projects, will tell them, you've got to do this, you've got to do this. And actually, I read your letter, it was good, you know, your committee's letter, but most of that stuff is stuff that happens kind of regularly in the traffic study.
Okay, yeah, we just wanted to be sort of proactive here and in front of this, because, and I understand the situation between the two boards, but this was an opportunity to present something in writing that also went to the planning board and other folks who are involved in this, because hopefully it'll, if it's recommended to, by the planning board to that traffic consultant that this is the scope that's expected, then, they don't have to go back to the drawing board and do a second report because the first one's inadequate. So that's what we're
Just
focused on.
say one other thing.
course.
It was actually at the planning board's request that the board retained AKRF.
Yes, oh, absolutely.
Okay,
No, and that's
so-
why we brought it up here, because in connection with
Right.
your approval of that, which we support, we just thought it'd be helpful.
Understood. Well, look, we're certainly now, if we weren't already, aware of your concerns. And I suggest we let it play out a little bit and see if it doesn't go exactly as the village attorney has suggested, which is to address them through the planning board.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much for your time.
No problem.
I have one online.
Okay, go ahead.
If I can get to it.
Actually, you know what, can we bring David up just because he got his hand up
There's
quick?
someone else up there, go ahead.
Okay, and then you're next.
Hi, yeah, it's Felix Slurry from 62 Ardsley Avenue West. I had a quick question about the bulldogs that are around town. My family loves them, and I think, we think that they're like this colorful, fun addition to Main Street. And I was just wondering, who's in charge of those, and is there any reason they can't be up year round, other than maybe weather, during the winter or something damaging them?
Yeah. You want me to talk about it? So it started through it was called the Bulldog Gallery Committee, and it's now called the Arts and Culture Committee. The reason they can't be up all year is I think they would be damaged. They are coded for outside, but also part of the program is they get auctioned off, and 25% of the proceeds go to the artists, and the other ones are gonna be the rest of the proceeds are intended to do other projects like art. We initially started as some business district improvement, but it's evolved from that to more art projects.
If you really like one, you can
You can
bid
have
on
one
it
on
and have it in your own yard.
Well, noted. All right. Well, I appreciate it. Maybe we can do them. Maybe then we can do them, commission them more than once a year if that's the case. But anyway, I guess I just would say that they're fun, and We love seeing them when they're up.
Thank you, we
Thank
really,
you.
we really
Yeah.
appreciate hearing that, because there's a lot of work that goes into it.
No, I think we're worried about Halloween. We try to get them down before Halloween.
Smart.
Okay, David, you wanna?
I have a 13-year-old. Lots of shading.
Shading cream
Yeah.
fun. Yeah, I already see it.
Hi, David Zweibel, 13 North Continent. Two small things. One, I just wanted to formally congratulate the board's participation with the Pride event. I thought it was terrific, and particularly terrific with Mitchell organizing it, and extra support by Larry. Arlene was there. It was a wonderful event, and thank you very much for making that happen, and let's make sure we keep that up. On a side note, the flags, I love the flags, but I noticed they sort of stop halfway down Main Street. So I live a couple blocks south, and I would love to see that in the future year, I would request that we have the flags go the whole way down to Esther Street and not stop. I don't know if there was a reason that, other than financial or some other thing, that we only put them halfway down. To tell you the truth, I'm not even sure where they stop, but they aren't on the bottom half of Main Street. So that would be one small
The first year
request.
we did it, it was kind of in a hurry, and I think that's what we have the capability to do.
Right.
It's a good question as to why we never ever circle back, so.
And it's not just the sheer number of flags, somebody's gotta be there with a truck and put them up.
But their flag poles all the way down, right? Their
Yeah,
flag
there's
poles.
just, there's only the
Yeah.
American flag.
But we
is
can
Esther
put more flag poles. It's not that
Yes.
expensive. It's not that expensive.
Yeah, no, it was really a timing thing, and then we just
Right.
didn't circle back to it last year.
Okay, no, I think it's a good suggestion.
Okay.
Okay, and number two, the CCA agreement.
Number 3. Sorry, David.
Who's keeping?
Pride was one, the
Right.
flags were two.
Okay, I was thinking the pride and the flags together. Okay, the CCA agreement, oh my God, is that complicated? And Mitch, thank you for bringing up, you really need to do community outreach once that gets presented.
That was talked about at the,
Yeah.
that's, don't give me credit for that, that was,
They are-
everybody talked about
Yeah.
that at the presentation of the.
I was at the work session,
Yeah, so you-
and trust me, I know about this stuff, and it was like
Yeah.
overwhelming, just like you reading even the whatever. So doing that community outreach is going to be complex. One issue that I have a question about in terms of the opting out, opting in, that I'm one of those people that went ahead and, well, first of all, I opted to not opt out years ago with the idea of, well, this is just a good thing to do. And if there's a price increase, I'd rather pay this money to this rather than make my donation to Greenpeace or something like that. This is local, so it goes out of that bucket in my pocket. I don't know what other people, why they choose to stay opt-in, other than they don't even pay attention to it, or whatever it is. But I went to the trouble, I moved downtown, I'm now on Continent Street, I put in my solar up on my nice roof, and for the last year, I don't pay any electric, because I generate more power than I use.
Lucky you.
Which is, well, it's a little interesting. Of course, that money is only off the electricity usage. I still have to pay Con Ed to maintain my meter or whatever that is.
Distribution.
Distribution fees. So we've got that distribution. No matter how much I produce over what I use, I don't get anything for that. And I still pay my distribution fees. So I maybe spent too much money putting the amount of solar on the roof because I'm not getting really any benefit from that. It just goes back to, but that's my question. Who does it go back to if my supplier, the amount of money that's of the electricity that I am generating, the value of that, does that go to Con Ed or does that go to the
We
CCA?
can ask, but I don't know.
People.
We certainly don't know the answer.
And
I think it just goes back into the grid, which means it's going back to whoever the electricity provider is, but.
well, that's, is a question for people choosing to opt out or not, is if they have their own solar, does that make any difference? And is there a recommendation by the village to, do something different because you're producing more electricity than you're using if you have solar?
Okay.
So, a little complex, but
Okay.
just adding another thing.
Maybe we can, Larry can find.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
find out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Right,
taking
maybe
notes.
that's maybe a different,
To add a little more complexity to the complex issue. That's it?
thank you.
Got it, thank you.
Anything that doesn't opt out.
Anybody else?
Those are too complicated.
All right, then I will make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? All in favor? Thank you. Thanks, everybody, for coming out.
Larry, is it off?
DEI meeting upstairs.
Oh,